Chronic inflammation. An overview. Greetings and welcome to our in-depth exploration of chronic inflammation, a subject that stands at the crossroads of pathology, immunology, and clinical medicine. Today, we delve into the complexities of chronic inflammation, building on the basics of acute inflammation, and revealing how our bodies navigate the delicate balance between defense and self-damage. Definition and overview to begin. Chronic inflammation represents a prolonged, often gradual immune response that can persist for weeks, months, or even years. It is characterized by three principal features: sustained activity of mononuclear cells such as macrophages, lymphocytes, and plasma cells, ongoing tissue destruction both from the injurious agent and from the inflammatory response itself, and continuous attempts at repair, notably through the development of new blood vessels and the formation of scar tissue. Unlike the swift and intense reaction of acute inflammation, chronic inflammation is slower, more proliferative, and frequently subtle in its progression. Causes and contexts. Why does chronic inflammation occur? There are several important contexts. Persistent infections are a major cause, especially those involving microorganisms that are difficult to eliminate, including certain bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live inside cells. These infections demand an ongoing cell-mediated immune response. Chronic inflammation also arises from extended exposure to toxic agents that cannot be broken down, such as silica or asbestos from external sources, or lipids that accumulate within blood vessels, contributing to conditions like atherosclerosis. Autoimmune diseases represent another source, where the immune system mistakenly targets the body's own tissues, leading to ongoing inflammation. Repeated episodes of acute inflammation may also shift into a chronic state, as seen in chronic gallbladder inflammation following recurring gallstone attacks. Some disorders, such as certain lung diseases and autoimmune conditions, begin as chronic from the outset. The cellular players. The cellular landscape of chronic inflammation is distinct from that of acute inflammation. Macrophages are the central, defining cell in chronic inflammation, emerging from blood monocytes that migrate into tissues. Macrophages play many roles, including engulfing pathogens and debris, presenting antigens to lymphocytes, and producing cytokines and growth factors that amplify the inflammatory response and promote scar formation. They are responsible for considerable tissue damage through the release of reactive molecules and enzymes. Macrophages can assume different activation states, either promoting inflammation or contributing to repair and scarring. Occasionally, they join together to form multinucleated giant cells, which are a hallmark of a specific pattern called granulomatous inflammation. Lymphocytes, including both T cells and B cells, are also crucial. T cells support cell-mediated immunity, activating macrophages and directly attacking infected or abnormal cells. B cells, and their mature form known as plasma cells, produce antibodies against persistent threats or the body's own tissues in autoimmune disease. Other important cells include eosinophils, which are involved in parasite infections and allergies, and mast cells, which release substances that affect blood vessel permeability and scarring. Fibroblasts and their activated forms, myofibroblasts, are vital for forming collagen, the building block of scar tissue. Granulomatous inflammation, a unique pattern. Let us focus on granulomatous inflammation, a specialized type of chronic inflammation. This pattern is marked by the formation of granulomas, which are organized collections of macrophages that resemble epithelial cells, often encircled by lymphocytes and sometimes giant cells. Granulomas are a cellular strategy to contain and isolate agents that the body cannot eliminate. Classic examples include tuberculosis, leprosy, and certain fungal infections. Granulomas can also form in non-infectious conditions, such as sarcoidosis or Crohn's disease, and in response to foreign substances like surgical sutures. There are two types of granulomas: those with central necrosis, known as caseating granulomas, which are characteristic of tuberculosis, and those without central necrosis, seen in conditions like sarcoidosis and reactions to foreign bodies. Chemical mediators. Chronic inflammation relies on many of the same chemical signals as acute inflammation, but these mediators are present over a longer period and have broader effects. Among the most significant are cytokines, such as tumor necrosis factor and various interleukins, which recruit and activate white blood cells, and interferon gamma, produced by T cells and natural killer cells, which is a powerful activator of macrophages. Growth factors, including platelet-derived growth factor and transforming growth factor beta, stimulate fibroblast activity and collagen production, leading to scarring. Clinical effects and systemic manifestations. Chronic inflammation does not remain confined to a single location. It can have widespread effects throughout the body. People may experience fever, fatigue, night sweats, and weight loss, largely due to the actions of inflammatory molecules. Chronic inflammation can also cause anemia by disrupting iron metabolism and reducing red blood cell production. An increased number of white blood cells, particularly lymphocytes, is often seen. In very long-standing cases, there may be deposition of amyloid proteins in organs, which can impair their function. Outcomes and consequences. Ultimately, the outcome of chronic inflammation hinges on the balance between tissue damage and repair. Fibrosis and scarring are common and debilitating results, as healthy tissue is replaced with dense, non-functional scar tissue, leading to organ failure in conditions like cirrhosis of the liver or pulmonary fibrosis. Chronic inflammation may linger for years, with periods of calm punctuated by flare-ups. The process also increases the risk of certain types of cancer due to persistent cell turnover and tissue injury. In summary, chronic inflammation represents a shift from the body's rapid, protective response to a drawn-out battle that, while intended to safeguard, often results in significant collateral damage. Understanding these processes is essential for both clinicians and patients as we strive to manage diseases rooted in chronic inflammation. Thank you for joining us on this podcast journey through the landscape of chronic inflammation. We hope this episode has shed light on its underlying mechanisms, clinical consequences, and the ongoing scientific efforts to combat its effects. Stay tuned for more explorations into the fascinating world of pathology and immune defense. If you enjoy the content, please like, share, and subscribe. It's the Everything Surgery Podcast. Dissect the extraordinary.